welcome to the second episode of Oh My God, I'm Getting Married. And this episode is entitled, Yeah, so cool, we're getting married. Now what? Okay, so as we know, and as people always say to you, it's a very stressful process. And there's countless articles and all sorts of stuff saying, oh my God, how to take the stress out of a wedding. Well, I think what's important is that you consider three very important steps before you start going down this road and getting into the nitty gritty of the wedding planning process. So, first of all, I would say step number one, and once again, this is just my opinion, but it's an opinion based on over 30 years of event experience. So this is what I would suggest you do. Okay, so step number one is develop a vision. And when I say develop a vision, I mean go crazy. I mean, what do I want my wedding to be like? Do I want eagles bringing my rings in? Do I want elephants carrying me to my groom, my bride to be, whatever it's going to be, my life partner? Do I want children, so many children gathered around me? Do I want doves released during my wedding? Do I want my wedding on canoes? I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. At the end of the day, it's your wedding. So develop the crazy vision. Develop the, if I could do absolutely anything, this would be what I would have at my wedding. Because surprisingly enough, sometimes these things can actually come true. Believe it or not. So develop a vision, and now that vision is not going to be something that you're going to be able to develop overnight. That's probably going to take a couple of weeks and a little bit of thought coming from you and your partner, and really just probably obviously there'll be a little bit of possibly wine involved, some kind of alcoholic substance. But that's fine, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to coalesce all these ideas that we have and put them together into an amazing vision of the way that we think our wedding would like to be. That's the first thing to do. The second step that I think you need to probably consider is budget. Now, whenever people talk about money, oh God, it's stressful. I mean, we talk about finances, we talk about bills, we talk about all the stuff that comes up. And so money always, whenever you talk about money, there's always an emotional context to money. So I think what's really critically important at the beginning is you decide how much money you want to spend. Now, obviously, I've heard stories of people spending just a little bit of money, a few $1,000s, and that's great, and they're so happy with that. I've heard of people spending $50,000 on a wedding, which may, to you right now, seem, $50,000, mate. I'm not going to spend $50,000, or some might be thinking, $50,000, yeah, I was planning that. I mean, I have no opinion on this. I think as long as you know how much you want to spend, that kind of gives a lot more reality and crystallizes the vision that you have. Now, obviously, once you decide budget, you will probably take that vision of yours and start working backwards and saying, okay, well, I could do this and I can do that, but dinosaurs appearing at my wedding is probably not going to happen this time. Okay, maybe after our first year anniversary, we may get that. But the whole point is, yes, we need to, once we've set that budget, that allows us to sit there and go, yeah, well, this is how much money we have. Now, just a quick thing about budget. Okay, there's obviously three ways that we're going to pay for this wedding. Number one, you're going to pay for it yourself. You and your partner are going to go, yes, we're paying for the entire thing, which means the entire decision-making process rightfully is yours. If you decide you want to go to Vegas and get married by Elvis, well, so be it. If you decide you'd like to go to the jungles of Borneo and get married on a mountain, you can do that as well. I mean, it's completely up to you. But obviously, what I'm trying to say to you, it is your wedding, you're paying for it, so the decision-making processes are completely yours. Then, of course, there's the other type of wedding payment where, your parents decide to put in some money, which is fantastic. But of course, when people put money into something, they like to also have some kind of ownership, which we're going to discuss in a moment. And if you're lucky enough to have well-heeled parents, they may decide to pay for the whole thing. Yeah, good stuff. But, those days, that may or may not occur. I mean, once upon a time, when I got married 100 years ago, yes, parents paid. And in those days, the groom's parents would pay for all the alcohol. and the bride's parents would pay for all the other things associated with it. Now I say bride and groom because in those days we hadn't been enlightened finally and had marriage equality, but that's just basically how it went. Now I don't know where it changed, I don't know when it changed, but now that is not such a given. Okay, so it's always good to find out who's paying for it because that is going to affect your budget. And the third thing I think you need to think about, and the third step, is what I call management. Now, when I use the word management, I'm really thinking of you taking on two roles. The first role is obviously you as the client. Okay, so you as a client is the person who's getting married. But then I also think you need to take on the role of a manager. Now, what I mean by a role of manager is that you need to be able to step back from the process. Now, when a manager is employed to do something, a project manager, they don't really have a vested emotional interest in what's about to take place. They want to help people, but they don't go home at night and dream about it as you do with your wedding. Okay, so when I say take on the role of the manager, I'm saying to step outside of the role of actually getting married and think, okay, I'm going to go down this road. Okay, these are the decisions that I need to make in terms of for the client. You know, because a client, which is you also, is going to be all emotionally crazy and saying, oh, I want this and I want that. You know, but the manager in you needs to be able to look at what the decisions that you're making and actually put it into some kind of context, some kind of list, some kind of process, and be able to say yes to things and say no to things and be able to point out realistically whether that is something that is possible or whether it isn't. You know, because if you don't take on the role of the manager and you are the emotional, you know, bride, groom, significant, whatever you're going to be, that's where the stress really comes in, okay? Because, you know, you're trying to say no to yourself, but you're all emotional and those sorts of things. Now, this is sort of common sense in some way, but I like to deal in common sense because I think, you know, there's not enough sense being made of common sense. I think people need to spend more time, you know, being reasonably practical and reasonably simple in the way that they approach things, and to be, as I said, commonsensical. So they're the three main steps. Number one, develop your vision and go crazy. Number two, deal with the budget and lay that out from the beginning. And don't add to that. Don't say, oh my God, yeah, if we just add another $5,000, we could literally have winged angels coming down. We could have cupids on our wedding arbor. Yeah. Okay, and of course, the third thing is the role of the manager, being the manager. Now, before I end this vlog, I'd like to talk about the elephant in the room. Now, there will be an elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about the white one that you come in on in your wedding. I'm talking about parental intervention. Now, you may be, now this is obviously worst case scenario. You may be absolutely 100% fortunate to have those parents who just don't involve themselves in any kind of like, I think you should do this. But, and this is the big but, you may have those parents who like to vicariously live their lives through you. In other words, they like to make your wedding their wedding. Now, look, you know, all power to them. I completely understand it, you know, as being a parent, you know, and being a reasonably dominant individual. There is that danger of you saying, well, you should do this, and then going down that road and not listening to the people who are actually getting married. But there is probably, there is one way, and I think the only way to deal with parental intervention is, number one, realize that that thing is going to happen. They are going to want to involve themselves, generally. Some more than generally. You need, as the manager with your partner, to decide what roles you're going to give your parents. So you kind of, you know, to use an old Western term, you got to head them off at the pass. So when they start saying, oh, I say, well, this is what I wish you could help me with this, and or I wish you could help me with that, or could you help with this? And so giving them a role and giving them something to do is much better than them wanting to give themselves to them. Can't even speak. Must be Sunday morning. More about giving them a role instead of them giving themselves a role. Do you understand what I mean? I mean, I'm pretty sure you do. I think I've made some kind of sense. Okay, so that's oh my God, I'm getting married for today. If you like this vlog, then obviously subscribe to the blog. We are going to be covering so much stuff in this blog, I have to tell you. There's so much coming up. So until next time, that's oh my God, I'm getting married for today. Cheers and bye. And by the way, isn't Perth great? Do you know we have 252 days of sunshine in Perth a year? That's why it is literally the best place to get married. Okay, see you later and bye for now.